Mother Nature and Compassion. I was fortunate to be introduced to the world of nature at an early age, thanks to the kindness of a woman named Peggy Dodge. She was a graphic artist and a friend of my family. My mother and Mrs. Dodge would meet with a small group of local artists at the Dodge farm, which was located in a rural area that included a small pond, meadows, and fields. Mom would take me along. Peggy Dodge also had a true love of nature, of all its creatures, a love which she was kind enough to share with me when I visited. I was 6 years old. From that time until I was about 16, I studied nature with an intense passion, pretty much all the time. School was lost on me, for I was way too busy thinking and planning what I would do each afternoon out in nature when school was over for the day. I had my own mini nature museum in my room where I kept all kinds of animals and insects and snakes and you name it, including rattlesnakes, copperheads, skunks, spiders, boa constrictors, and anything I could manage to keep alive. I had insect collections, rock collections, leaf collections, fossil collections, shell collections, and so on. It would be true to say that any real education that I got, at least that which actually sank in, came from what I learned about observing nature, and it never occurred to me that everyone else was not getting this same education. Let me begin by pointing out that I realized early on that there are real differences between natural law, nature's law, and human-made laws. Human laws are made by people, of course, and they can be bent, twisted, and even broken at times. This is, of course, what lawyers do so well. Yet nature's laws cannot be broken. If we break them, they break us. No one defies the law of gravity with impunity. What goes up comes down. What is born eventually dies. We all know this, at least in principle. Maybe we don't think about it much. Because I grew up with my eyes glued on natural law, that was the law that I came to revere as the truth, the bottom line. Society's laws were far less consistent, and often or frequently just plain confusing for me. It is only in recent years that I've realized what a great teacher nature was to me and how lucky it is that I put my trust in what I saw in nature rather than only in the various rules and laws society wanted me to learn, which often seem to contradict one another. There's something wonderful about consistency, especially when one is young and trying to get a handle on life. And if nothing else, Mother Nature is consistent. Her laws are always the same, and there are no arbitrary variations and no exceptions. What you see is what you get. There are no behind-the-scene or backroom deals being made. Nature demonstrates perfect equanimity. Everyone and everything is treated equally. This fact alone avoids the confusion that society's laws can instill in us. In nature, a rose is a rose is a rose, that kind of thing. And she keeps no secrets. Nature openly shares the facts of life and death with anyone who wants to observe. And unlike society, where death, dying, sickness, and all of the suffering side of life is for the most part either sanitized or just swept under the carpet, nature never blinks. It's all right there for us to see if we'll just take a peek. I'm not saying here that what nature shows us is always a pretty sight. But with nature, you never have to figure out what is real and what's not. It's obvious. For a little kid, or even an adult, this can be an extreme act of kindness. What society does not care to discuss with us Nature is only too happy and ready to reveal, and nature has other messages for us as well. One example of that is impermanence. I can't say for those of you who are reading this now, but in my experience, too much of the time, the sheer business of my life causes me to forget many of the more important things in life. I'm ashamed to say that it takes often takes at least, some really sobering event, like the death of someone close to me, to make me snap out of my kind of busybody trance, and to take even a day or so of time off to really consider life itself. And while I never expect, or I certainly don't welcome such events, I do very much appreciate the time out at those special times, time to consider the larger picture, the big picture, and the ability to remember deeply once again what's really important. Nature, on the other hand, is a constant reminder of just how impermanent this life we're all living is. I can never forget the time that I was traveling through India and was saying goodbye to a great Tibetan meditation teacher. And he said to me, "Tomorrow or next life, Michael, whichever comes first." Now his words woke me up a bit, and the message was much like the one that nature is consistently offering us. Awareness of our own impermanence. None of us are about to just live forever, and we might keep that in mind at least once in a while. Nature points out impermanence to us all the time. It's hard for me to take a morning walk along a country road and see the thousands of earthworms and slugs trying to cross the tarmac before that, the fierce summer sun rises and fries them to a crisp. These creatures, these worms, made a bad decision to cross the road just at that time. And though sometimes I tried to pick them all up and carry them to the grass on the roadside, it's almost impossible to save them all. I just can't do it. And some of them are even crawling in the travel direction of the road itself, so they're never going to make it. This is just one instance of the kind of impermanence nature demonstrates, and it's all around us. As mentioned earlier, nature never blinks. We blink. Nature shows us precisely how cause and effect works, what the Asians call karma, action, and the results of that action. Just, the equanimity of it all. No one breaks the law of gravity, neither person nor creature. All are treated to the same result if we break that law. Nature brooks no lawyers. And as we get closer to nature, as we take time to actually look, we see that every form of life, every sentient being, is not unlike we ourselves. Every creature out there wants to be happy. To just live, to have life. And no creature that I have ever seen willingly wants to suffer, unless perhaps, it's a human being. We each seek happiness, and we try real hard to avoid suffering. Every sentient being feels the same way, and we have that kinship with all these beings. Nature reminds me that life is in fact impermanent, and that all life is indeed precious, and that at least those who have life don't want to lose it. And in nature, it's easy to see that our every act has consequences. Real results that we would be well advised to keep in mind. And all of the above is ongoing, in fact, seemingly endless. Nature's not just about to change her laws, and the only actual change that we can expect will be our own attitude. How we receive, how we take what's given, how we accept what's already there. Nature is the perfect teacher when it comes to attitude adjustment. She proves that we might just as well adjust our attitude to her laws, and how, if we don't do that, we're going to pay a very dear price. And maybe I've forgotten perhaps the most important message that nature teaches us and that is about love and compassion. Love and compassion do exist in nature. In what I've pointed out so far, there's seemingly no compassion in nature. She's merciless, inexorably precise about what she exacts from us and when. Like, there are no sentimental tears shed by Mother Nature. She is indeed, I guess, what they call a harsh mistress. But she does have one soft spot, and it's very important for each of us to discover what that is. If we look for compassion and kindness in Mother Nature, it's seemingly nowhere to be found, unless we could agree that her laws themselves, those laws are kind to us, just like pain in the body reminds us that we're ill. Love and compassion are only to be found in the relationship between a mother and her children. True love and real compassion, like a willingness to do anything for the other person, for the other being, is pretty much limited to the way a mother feels about her child and what she is willing to do for that child. And you see this all through nature, not just with human moms. The love of a mother for her child is the one bright spot in what otherwise might appear as the ferocity of nature's nature. It would seem from simple observation that most natural creatures, kind of live in perpetual terror of being killed and eaten, while at the same time they're hunting, killing, and eating something else themselves. I know this is not like 100% true, but in general, nature is not a peaceful place at all, and most sentient beings do not live just serenely. My point is that the only place in nature that we find some love and compassion is in the relationship of a mother to her children. This is a rule that's remarkably consistent throughout all natural realms, the love of mother and child. Can you even imagine if it were not there? We wouldn't be here. And it's interesting to me that all of the religions of the world appear to be working very hard to have us treat each other as a mother naturally treats her child, to get us to go beyond family love, the love family members share, and to extend the same love to others, to those outside of our immediate family. The Buddhists would have us extend that love to all sentient beings and not just to humans. Christians say, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And the Buddhists would agree with that, but they would then add, and you make the first move. You reach out with kindness. In nature, compassion is always local, limited to that very special relationship between a mother and her children. Of course, fathers share in that too, but really, it is with mother and child that true love and compassion seem to be most pure, present. In this way, Mother Nature is indeed a great teacher. She does not obscure or perfume the way things are. Truth is revealed for what it is in nature, straight out. And in Mother Nature we can see impermanence clearly, not obscured or sanitized as it is most of the time in society. It is clear through just looking at nature that life is indeed precious. And it's not something guaranteed to go on forever. And it's also clear from that our choices, every action, brings consequences. And the situation that nature presents is not only the way things are right now, but also the way things will continue to be on into the future. The way things are is also the way things have always been and probably always will be. So it's up to each of us to respond to these very clear facts, something that in most societies we never have a chance to do. Instead, most of us ignore all of this and willingly prefer to remain ignorant. The only light in this otherwise fierce darkness is, as I've pointed out, the very real love, care, and the compassion that a mother has for her children. We can just thank heaven for that. That love has been a beacon of light to all of us virtually forever. there's nothing else like it anywhere on earth. And the Buddhists have tried to tell us for centuries that every person we meet, even every sentient being, has been our mother in some past lifetime, and that every last sentient being has also been our child. Perhaps this is just an attempt to make clear to us that we should treat each other with the same kindness, the same endless love and compassion a mother will show her child. In fact, this might be the bridge that we as a human race have been forever unable to cross, the key not only to Mother Nature, but to our own nature, the two being the same anyway. So the question is, how can we do this? How can we learn to treat each other with the kindness that our own mother has shown us? Well, the Christians, the Buddhists, and other religions have been trying for thousands of years to show us, to point out the way, and they all seem to agree, at least the Buddhists do, that this involves treating all sentient beings as a mother treats a child, with that same endless care, the same kindness and compassion, which is kind of a universal remedy that is much easier for me to say here than to do in real life. And it would seem that this will not just kind of happen spontaneously until the kind of compassion arises in each of us for all sentient life, the same compassion that we find the way that a mother treats or loves her child. And last, it seems that many of us don't really get serious about all of this stuff unless something upsetting happens to us. Exposing ourselves to the truth of nature a little at a time helps to make that possible by gradually softening our obscurations and giving us opportunities to feel compassion for all beings. Our greatest teachers, saints or priests, lamas, etc., they have shown us what this might look like, but apparently not enough for us to have been able to have that realization ourselves. So I just say that may that kind of compassion awaken in all of us, and may we share that kind of experience with one another.